My name is Howard. I'm 82. Every evening exactly at 9, I sit down at the table and write a letter to the same person for 4 years now. More than 1,000 letters. He will never read them, and still I write. Every evening, without exceptions. And today I will tell you who these letters are for, and why I can't stop. But first, I must tell you about the boy who drew houses. He was 5 years old, skinny, big eyes, quiet voice. Other children drew cars, dinosaurs, superheroes, but he houses. But not the way children draw a square, a triangle, a window, no. He drew real houses, with rooms inside, with stairs, with doors that lead somewhere. One evening I asked, "What kind of house is this?" He looked at me with those eyes of his and said, "This is a house where everyone is good, where everyone has their place." 5 years old. He was thinking about how to make people feel good. That was my son, Matthew. He grew up and didn't change, only became more himself. At 10 years old, we went fishing, just the two of us. 3 days at a lake in Pennsylvania. A small boat, a tent, fishing rods. We caught almost nothing. Terrible fishing, honestly, but we talked. 3 days we just talked. He asked me about everything. About the war I served in Vietnam. About Mom, how we met. About death, yes, at 10 years old he was already thinking about it. I answered honestly. Maybe too honestly for a child, but he listened seriously. Didn't interrupt, just absorbed. On the last evening we sat by the fire, wood crackling, the sky was full of stars, and suddenly he said, "Dad, I'm glad you're my dad," just like that, for no reason. A 10-year-old boy who told his father he was glad. I didn't know what to answer. Mumbled something banal, "I'm glad too, son." Not enough, so little. I didn't know then that this was one of the moments I would replay in my head thousands of times. Didn't know that I would give everything to go back there and say more. Matthew grew up, became an architect, as I thought he would when he drew those houses at 5 years old. He designed houses where people feel good, where everyone has their place. That boy never went anywhere, he just got a degree and started doing what he dreamed of. Once he showed me a project, a house for an elderly couple. The clients wanted something simple. Matthew worked on it for 3 months. I asked, "Why so much time? It's just a simple house." He answered, "There are no simple houses, Dad. There are houses where people will live the last years of their lives. It has to be right." When the project was ready, he called me to look. And then I noticed every window faces east. The bedroom east, the kitchen east, even the small window in the bathroom east. I asked why. The west side also has light. The south is the brightest of all. He looked at me as if the answer was obvious, said, "Because at their age every morning is a gift. They should wake up and see the sun, not at noon, not in the evening, in the morning. The first thing they see when they open their eyes, the light of a new day. A reminder that they're still here." I stood and looked at those drawings and thought, this is my son, a person who thinks about how strangers will see the sun. The clients cried when they received the project, called him, thanked him. He always did that, understood what people couldn't express. That's who he was. At 22 he met Sarah. Called me that evening, excited, happy, voice trembling, said, "Dad, I met her. The one." I know how it sounds, but I thought, young fool, romantic. What can he know at 22? At his age, I thought I was in love, was wrong 3 times before I met Jenny. And he says, the one. But he knew, somehow he knew. They lived together for 31 years. 2 children, Emily and Jacob. A happy marriage, a real partnership, not perfect, but they held together, chose each other every day. 31 years. My wife Jenny loved when the whole family gathered on Sunday. She cooked all day, too much food as always. Matthew came with Sarah and the children. The house filled with laughter, noise, life. Jenny sat at the head of the table and looked at all of us. I knew that look of hers, the look of a woman who got everything she dreamed of. She would say, "Howard, look at what we created." I looked, and I saw Matthew, who became a man, a father, a professional. Sarah, who became like a daughter to us. Emily and Jacob, our blood, our continuation. We were happy. So obviously, banally, simply happy. I didn't know then that happiness must be counted. That you need to look at it and tell yourself, remember, this is not forever. Nothing is forever. That morning, I remember it second by second. I was having breakfast in the kitchen. Jenny was still sleeping. It was about 6:30 spring, the sun was just rising. The phone rang. Matthew, early for him, he's not a morning person. I picked up. "Hi son, you're early today," he said. "Hi dad, just wanted to hear your voice." It was strange. Matthew isn't the type who calls for no reason. Always specific, always has a topic. I asked, "Everything okay?" He said, "Yes, just a bit of a headache, probably the pressure is changing." We talked for about 5 minutes about the weather, about the grandchildren, about some project he was working on. Then he said, "Okay dad, I have to go to work, we'll talk later." I said, "Okay son, take care of yourself." He said, "You too dad." Those were the last words I heard from him. No, wait, I must be precise. He also said before hanging up, "Love you dad." Matthew didn't say that often. Not because he didn't love, just not that type. Men of our kind don't talk much about feelings. But that morning he said it. "Love you dad," and hung up. At 2 in the afternoon Sarah called. Her voice was such that I understood before she said a word. There are things you don't need to explain. The body knows before the mind. My legs buckled. I sat on the kitchen floor holding the phone. Sarah was saying something. I heard words aneurysm. Instantly they couldn't do anything, but I didn't understand. My brain refused. Just this morning he called. Just this morning he said, "Love you." How can he be dead? Sarah was crying into the phone. "Howard, are you there? Howard." I had to say something, had to be strong for her, for the grandchildren, for everyone. But the only thing I could was one word, again and again. No, number 53 years. My son lived 53 years, brain aneurysm. The doctors said he didn't suffer, said it was instant. He was driving to work, stopped at a traffic light and lost consciousness. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was already gone. His head hurt. He said in the morning his head hurt. Why didn't I tell him to go to the doctor? Why didn't I insist? Why did I let him go with that "take care," as if that was enough? I know it's senseless. The aneurysm could have happened any time. No one is to blame, but grief doesn't know logic. Grief looks for the guilty. And when it doesn't find them, it blames you. Jenny. I need to tell you about Jenny. When Sarah called, Jenny was still sleeping. I had to go upstairs and tell her. I couldn't. I sat on the kitchen floor and couldn't get up. She came down herself. Saw me on the floor with the phone in my hands, understood everything without words. She didn't scream, didn't cry, just stood on the stairs and looked at me. And then said, "Matthew," one word, a question she already knew the answer to. I nodded. She sat on the stairs, slowly, as if all the air had been let out of her. And we sat like that, me on the kitchen floor, her on the stairs, maybe an hour, maybe 3. I don't know. Jenny was strong, stronger than me. She organized the funeral, held Sarah when she couldn't stand, hugged the grandchildren when they were at their worst. And I looked at her and saw something inside went out. Those eyes with which she looked at our family at the table, they became different, empty. She held on for 8 months. 8 months she got up, cooked food, spoke words. But Jenny, whom I knew, she was already gone. One morning I woke up at 6, as always. Turned to her, she was lying peacefully as if sleeping. But I knew immediately. There's a difference between how a person sleeps and how they look when they're gone. The body the same, but something elusive disappears. Jenny passed in her sleep. The doctors said heart. I know the truth. She went after Matthew. Didn't want to be here without him. 58 years together. And she couldn't without her son. I don't blame her. I understand. I just had to stay. The first months after Jenny, I don't remember them clearly. They merged into one gray blur. I didn't turn on the lights at home. Why, for whom? Didn't eat normally. Didn't see the point. Didn't go outside. The world continued to exist. People laughed, lived, and I didn't understand how they could. I wanted it all to end. I won't say how exactly, but I wanted it. And then Emily came, without a call, without warning. Just opened the door. She had a key and came in. I was sitting in the living room, in the dark. I don't know what time it was. She turned on the light. I squinted. My eyes weren't used to it. She sat next to me, took my hand, and said in a voice that made something inside me shudder, "Grandpa, I'm not ready to lose another person. Not now, not like this." She was crying. My granddaughter, 24 years old, who in 8 months had lost her father and grandmother, was crying and holding my hand. "Please," she said, "stay a little longer, for me." I looked at her eyes, Matthew's eyes, at her hands. She also gestured like him. And I understood, if I go, she'll be left alone with this grief. Her and Jacob, they've already had their father taken away. I have no right to take away their grandfather too. I didn't answer, just nodded. She hugged me. For the first time in months, someone hugged me. That evening, she stayed overnight. The next day, Jacob came. They cleaned the house, filled the refrigerator, opened the curtains. Jacob said, "Grandpa, we won't leave you. We need you." Need, that word did something. Small but important. Emily insisted on therapy. I resisted. Men of my generation don't go to psychologists. We handle it ourselves. But she said, "Grandpa, you've been handling it yourself for so many years. Look where you are now." She was right. The therapist's name was Margaret, younger than Matthew. That annoyed me at first. What could she know? But she didn't try to know. She listened and asked questions. Once she said something that changed everything. "Howard, grief is love with nowhere to go." I asked her to repeat it. Grief is love with nowhere to go. You loved Matthew. You still love him. That love didn't disappear. It just has no addressee. Love with nowhere to go. So accurate. Exactly that. I still wanted to call him. Still seeing something interesting. Thought, need to tell Matthew. And then I'd remember each time a small death anew. Margaret asked, "What do you do with this love? Where does it go?" I didn't know what to answer. She said, "Maybe you should find it a place." That evening I sat down at the table, took paper and a pen, and wrote, "Dear Matthew, today was a hard day. I miss you so much that sometimes I can't breathe, but Emily came. She looks like you, those same eyes. I promised her I'd stay, so I'm staying. Love you, Dad." The first letter. I didn't plan to write every day. But the next evening I sat down again, and the next, and the next. It became a ritual. 9 in the evening. Table, paper, pen, letter to my son. I write to him about everything, about the weather, about what I ate for breakfast, about the news, about the grandchildren, about memories that surface. He won't read them, I know, but love has to go somewhere, and it goes into these letters. 4 years, more than 1,000 letters, a whole drawer in the closet. This is my conversation with my son. One-sided, but a conversation. 3 months ago, Emily called in the evening. Voice strange, excited, but not sad. She said, "Grandpa, sit down." I sat. She said, "Dave and I are expecting a baby." I needed a minute. A baby. My granddaughter is expecting a baby. I'll be a great-grandfather. I didn't know what to feel. Joy, yes, but also pain because Matthew won't know, won't hold in his arms, won't see. Emily seemed to read my thoughts. She said, "If it's a boy, we'll name him Matthew. If it's a girl, Jennifer." I couldn't speak. Sat with the phone and cried. She said, "Grandpa, are you there?" I said, "Yes." And I'm happy and sad. All at once. She said, "I know, me too. That's what grief is. It doesn't pass. It becomes part of everything. Joy and grief is there. New life and grief is there. But that doesn't mean you can't rejoice. You can. You must. Joy and grief are not opposites. They live together in one heart." Yesterday I found a photo from that fishing trip. Matthew, 10 years old, skinny, big eyes, fishing rod bigger than him, smiling at the camera. I looked at that photo for an hour. A boy who doesn't yet know what's ahead. University, Sarah, children, houses. Doesn't know he'll live only 53 years. Just a boy by the lake, happy about the sun. I'll show this photo to my great-grandson. Say, "This is your grandfather Matthew. He loved building houses where everyone feels good. He designed windows facing east because he said every morning is a gift and he would have loved you." Yesterday evening I sat on the porch. It was warm, quiet, getting dark. The neighbors' children were playing in the street, laughing, running, shouting. Before, that sound would have been painful, but yesterday I just listened, and something inside warmed. Children are laughing. The world continues. New people are coming. And my Matthew, he'll be in this world, through Emily. Through the great-grandson who will be named after him, through the stories we'll tell. That evening I wrote to him briefly, "Matthew, today I listened to children laughing, and I felt good. Not painful, good. You'd be proud, I think. Love you, Dad." Margaret once asked, "Howard, if Matthew could say something to you now, what would it be?" I thought for a long time. Then said he would say, "Dad, I saw your letters, everyone. And I want you to know you were a good father, not perfect, good. And I loved you just as much as you loved me. Every second." Margaret asked, "How do you feel saying that?" I said like he really said it. She smiled. "Maybe he did, through you. I don't know if there's something after, if I'll see him again, if I'll see Jenny. But I know love doesn't disappear, it passes on, from father to son. From son to his children, further." My love for Matthew lives in Emily, will live in my great-grandson. It's not a replacement, not consolation, just truth. I'm 82. I'm an old man who writes letters to a dead son and waits for a great-grandson. Every morning I look at the sunrise, like those people for whom Matthew designed the house. He was right. At my age, every morning is a gift. I didn't want this gift at first. Now I do. I want to see my great-grandson. I want to write more letters. I want a few more sunrises because I'm still here. And while I'm here, Matthew is here too, in my stories, in my letters, in my memory. We keep the dead alive while we remember them. I remember every day, and he lives. My name is Howard. I write letters to a person who will never read them. Now you know to whom, and you know why, because love has to go somewhere. Mine goes to him every evening while I am. Hug those you love today, because tomorrow is promised to no one. I didn't know, now I know. Take care of each other. That's all we have. I want to tell you something else. What is usually kept silent. The first year after Matthew, I hated other fathers. I'd see a grandfather with a grandson in the park and turn away. I'd see a son helping his father out of the car, and something black rose inside. Why do they have theirs? Why are theirs alive? Why me and not them? Disgusting thoughts. I hated myself for them. These people did nothing. Their sons also deserve to live, but grief doesn't know justice. Margaret said, it's normal, Howard, not good but normal, don't fight it. Notice, acknowledge, let go. I learned to let go, every time. Now after 4 years I can already look. Sometimes even smile when I see a father with a son, because it's beautiful. Love is always beautiful. Even when it hurts to watch. Another thing, guilt. It doesn't go away. For years and it returns. That morning he said, my head hurts. Why didn't I insist on a doctor? Why did I say take care and that's all? I know it's illogical. Margaret explained. Guilt is an attempt to control. If I'm guilty, it means I could have changed something. It's easier to feel guilt than helplessness. Helplessness is the scariest. To know that you couldn't do anything. That the world is just like that. That things happen without reason, without meaning, without the possibility to prevent. I still struggle with this. But now I know guilt lies. I couldn't save Matthew, no one could. And it's not my fault. Once I came to Margaret and said, I don't know how to live on, she asked, what do you mean? I said, I know how to exist. Get up, eat, sleep, but live, no. I forgot how it is to want tomorrow. She was silent for a long time, then said, Howard, you don't have to know that now. You have only one task to live through today. Not tomorrow, not next year, today. One day, then another. Then another. I started thinking like that. Not how will I live the next 10 years. But how will I live through today? Today, write a letter. Today, call Emily. Today, go outside. Today, look at the sky. Small things, but that's what life is made of. Last month, Jacob and I went to that lake, where I was with Matthew when he was 10. Jacob suggested it himself, said, Grandpa, I want to see that place. I want to know where you and Dad fished. We went. The lake had barely changed in all those years. The same water, the same trees, the same shore. We sat where Matthew and I once sat. Jacob held the same fishing rod I'd kept it all these years. He asked, Grandpa, tell me about Dad. What was he like then? And I told for hours about the boy with big eyes, about his questions, about Dad. I'm glad you're my dad. Jacob listened, didn't interrupt, just like Matthew once listened. Then he said, Grandpa, I want to be that kind of father like him. When I have children, I looked at him and saw Matthew, not on the outside, inside, that same kindness, that same attention to people. Matthew raised him. Even in the years he had, he raised him. And that lives on. In the evening, we made a fire. Like then, watched the stars. Jacob suddenly said, Dad would have liked this, that we're here. I said, I think he knows, somehow. I don't know if I really believe that, but I'd like to. We sat until late, didn't talk much, just were there together, 2 generations, grandfather and grandson, connected by a person who is no more, but who is still there between us, in us. When we were driving back, Jacob said, Thank you, Grandpa, I needed this. I said, me too. The next day I wrote a letter. Matthew, yesterday Jacob and I were at the lake. There where you and I were. He's like you, you know, not in face and soul. You raised him well. I'm proud of you. Always was proud. Sorry I didn't say it more often. Now I say it every day. Love you, Dad. In 2 months, Emily's baby will be born. If it's a boy, it will be Matthew. Little Matthew, who will never meet his great uncle but will carry his name. I'm waiting. For the first time in 4 years, I'm waiting for something. I want to see. I want to hold in my arms. I want to tell him when he grows up who the man was that he was named after. The boy who drew houses where everyone feels good. The man who designed windows facing east. A father who was loved. A son who is mourned. Matthew, my child, forever. I'm 82 years old. I don't know how much longer there will be, but every day I'm here, I write letters, I wait for my great-grandson, I watch the sunrise, I live, not like before, differently. With a hole inside that will never heal, but I live, because Matthew would want that, because Jenny would want that, because Emily and Jacob need me, because love is stronger than pain. It doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes pain wins. Sometimes I lie in the dark and don't see the point. But then I get up, write a letter, call the grandchildren, go out in the sun. And love returns. It always returns because it never went anywhere. My name is Howard. I lost a son, a wife, the life I knew. And I'm still here not because it's easy, because there's someone to stay for, because there's something to stay for, because love has to go somewhere, and it goes every day. Into letters, into grandchildren, into memories, into the future that will still be. Hug those you love right now. Don't wait because I waited, put it off. Thought there will still be time. And then there wasn't. Don't make my mistake. Love loudly. Love now while you can, that's all. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves and each other. That's all we have. All there is, each other, while there is. One last thing. This morning I woke up early. It was still dark. Made coffee, went out on the porch, sat and waited for sunrise and thought about Matthew, about those east-facing windows he designed. He understood something I didn't understand then. That every morning is not a coincidence, that waking up is already a victory, that the sun that rises is a promise of another day. Another letter, another chance, the sun came out. The sky changed colors, pink, orange, gold. I drank coffee and watched, and suddenly felt he's here. Not literally, not like a ghost or anything, just presence, warmth. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe it's just my brain seeking comfort, but in that moment I felt that Matthew was near. Watching the same sunrise, happy that I'm still here. I said out loud into the empty air, "Good morning, son." No one answered, of course no one answered. But I felt better. I do that every morning now. Go out to the sun and say, "Good morning, Matthew." "Good morning, Jenny." They don't hear, or they do, I don't know. But I say it because love has to go somewhere, and it goes. Into these words, into this morning, into this sun, into everything that still is, into everything that will still be. My name is Howard. I'm 82 years old. I write letters to a son who isn't here. I greet a morning he won't see. I wait for a great-grandson he won't hold. And I am alive, not despite grief, together with it, because you can, because you must, because that's how love works. It doesn't disappear, it finds a way. Always. Even when it seems there is no way, it finds one. Mine found in letters, in grandchildren, in mornings, in you who are listening. Now you know Matthew too, the boy who drew houses, the man who built them for real. A father, a son, a husband, a person I loved. Love will always love. Death doesn't stop love, nothing stops it, it just continues differently but continues. And that's probably the only thing I know for sure after everything. Love continues. Hug someone today, say I love you. Don't put it off, because I put it off. And now I say it to letters, don't do that. Say it to the living while they're alive, while you can, while there's someone to say it to. Farewell and love, loudly, now, always, P.S. Yesterday Emily called, said, "Grandpa, we decided. If it's a boy, Matthew Howard, your name too." I couldn't say anything for a long time. Matthew Howard, my son, and me, together in one name, and a child who will come soon. I said, "Emily, that's too much." She said, "No, Grandpa, it's right. You held us together. You stayed when you wanted to leave. You deserve it." I cried. An old man, 82 years old, cried like a child. But these were different tears, not from pain, from love. Which didn't go anywhere, which found a way. Which will continue in a little boy with two names. Matthew Howard. He's not born yet, but already loved. Like his great-grandfather after whom he's named, like me. Love doesn't disappear. Now I know for sure. It just grows further, always further.